so I can delete this. All right, thing seems to be working now. Okay. Hello, Michael. So, how can you focus on learning one module, then go ahead to the next one, and so on? Um, do you mean how can you learn or how can you focus? What do you mean by module? Is it a Python module? Let me know. Okay, so it's a Python module. Right, so let's take a practical example. Um, let's say you wanna learn the socket module for network programming. So socket allows you to create network components and actually have them communicate between one another. I mean, if you know the basic syntax in Python and if you know like the concepts of Python, learning what a module can do could actually be pretty easy. What I would recommend is to get a hold of all the functions and modalities that that module is able to do. So, for example, if you have the socket module and you import it in Python, let me quickly turn on the screen here live and then disable this and let me show you what I'm talking about. So pay attention. So for example, we are in Python, let's go Python 3, and let's import the socket module, for example. Okay, so you want to learn the socket module and you want to learn network programming. Like I said, what you would want to do is to know all the methods that the socket module is capable of doing and then try to work with them. So for example, since I've imported socket, I also have a library that allows me to hit the tab and actually look into everything that the socket is capable of. I mean, in terms of methods and functions. So, for example, if we have socket.close, I could simply look into socket.close, what socket.close is doing with the help function in Python, and it tells me that it's a built-in function. Uh, closes an integer socket file descriptor. So that's what this method does, socket.close. And you, of course, you have a whole lot of them in here. So for example, if I import OS and then I do OS and then tab, it tells me everything that OS is capable of. And actually this gives me a lot of options to work with. So yeah, I guess that's part of the answer. What you would do, you would to accelerate the things even faster. Besides learning all these methods, not necessarily all of them, but I would actually or I would actually think of a practical project and start working on that project using mainly the module that I want to learn about or the package that I want to learn about in Python. And you could start in terms of documentation. Socket is part of the standard Python library, and you would want to go to python.org or com. I think it's .org, and you would want to look into the into the documentation, into the official documentation, and into the socket module, and maybe look for some examples over there. Or you could look into what other people what other people have built with the socket module in this case. And if you think of it, for some Python modules, there have been entire books written on, like for example, pandas and matplotlib, which are used in data science. There are books written for pandas. So for a simple module, if the module that you're talking about is something that's used at very large scale, there's a high likelihood that someone has probably written a book about it. So make sure to look that up. Now, I've told you that I can access these functionalities by these methods by using the dot and then hitting the tab. So you are not able to do that, from what I know, with the default installation in Python. And to actually make that work, so let me exit Python. You would have to pip install readline, I guess, and that should actually make that tab auto completion work. That's if I can recall correctly, that's how you actually do it. All right, so let's go back to the chat here. Okay, so why your name is Vlad? Are you from Russia? No, I'm not from Russia. I'm from Romania, and Vlad is a common name in Romania. I'm not sure if you heard about or you heard of Dracula. His name was Vlad the Impaler, and he was a great ruler from the 17th century, if I'm not 16, I believe, 16 and 17th century, something like that. Yeah, so I'm not from Russia, I'm from Romania. Hello, Amit. Hello, Michael. I mean, I've answered your question, Michael. Amit, I am a complete beginner. Okay, guys, so what we're actually gonna do, we're gonna do some Python here, and then we're gonna do some practical penetration testing on attack defense labs. And afterwards, if we have more time, I'm actually gonna spend the last 10 minutes responding to your questions. So make sure to leave them in the chat over here. So I'm going back to the screen, performance mode. All right. So hello, Marcel. All the best from Timișoara. All the best from Oradea, my friend. Okay, so we're gonna start. So I have the attack defense labs over here, and we're gonna start with some Python. Let me just have this open in another window. Fantasm. Yeah, I have a lot of ideas with respect to projects in cybersecurity. Okay, so we're gonna do some challenges on attack defense labs, but first, like I said, we're actually gonna do a little bit of Python. And to my shame, I didn't actually work on it a bit since, I mean, in the last few weeks, but I've actually written Python code for my personal projects and for my bug bounties. But I haven't worked on it a bit because I just didn't prioritize on it. So I'm still at 640 XP. Okay, so I want to be considerate with the time here. We are at let's see, 16 minutes in, so I want to keep this less than an hour because I have some events tonight and I have to prepare. I mean, like social events. Okay, so eliminate odd numbers within a list. Create a function that takes a list of numbers and returns only the even numbers. Okay, so you have a list and you want to get only the even numbers. So let's say for I in, we should do this with a list comprehension, right? Can we return a list comprehension? Return, and this is gonna be, what is it gonna be? Let's actually do it the classical way. So for I in list, if I modulus 2 equals 0, then we'll create a list 2. Let's say lst equals another list, and then, so yeah, we've got quite a few lines here. If I modulus 2 equals 0, then lst underscore dot append I, and then finally return lst underscore. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so how do we write this in fewer lines? We have created the second list, and then we want to do this list comprehension in one line. I'm not sure if, can you do a list comprehension having an if? Any suggestions, guys? Or have I completely lost you here? So, what would it be like? So if we have a list comprehension, it would be I don't think I can do this in a list comprehension, but I may be wrong. Okay, so I'm actually gonna submit this final, and then we're gonna look at what other people's solutions are. If you guys don't have any suggestions. Okay. Hey, maestro, master. I think that might just work. So you were saying return list. In this case would be return this. Let's see. So neolex, x for x in I. Does it actually work like that? Yeah, so that's the beauty of list comprehensions. Maybe we don't even need to use these and actually go with Neolex's solution. I was discussing with Neolex a little while ago on Discord about who shall I invite on my next discussion, next interview or discussion or informal cybersecurity discussion that I'm going to have on the channel. So Neolex is suggesting, in this case, x for x in LST if x modulus 2 equals 0. And this would be a very beautiful solution if it works. And it actually works, so good job, Nginx. Let's do another one. Just a second here, someone called me. Okay, so less than 100. Given two numbers, return true if the sum of both numbers is less than 100, otherwise return false. I mean, okay, let's do this. So if a plus b equals, if a plus b smaller than 100, return true. Is that what they're asking? And if it is greater, smaller than or equal to. That's the question, smaller than or equal to. Then if a plus b is greater than 100, return false. Let's start from here and see if that works. And it passed all but one tests. None should equal to false. If the sum of both numbers, there should be probably smaller than or equal to or greater than or equal to. Yeah. So how would you write this? How would you write this in one line? Can you write it in one line? So Nginx, you're saying remove the second if. And Maestro is saying return x plus y smaller than. Yeah, it could be. Let's see. So Nginx, you're saying return a plus b smaller than 100. Guys, you're better at this than me. So return a plus b smaller than 100. I'm just fooling around, writing like 10 lines of code for a solution, right? Okay, let's do another one and maybe then go to some practical stuff on attack defense labs. How many minutes are we in so far? So we're 25 minutes in already. You must verify the equality of two different given parameters, A and B. So both the value and the type of parameters need to be tested in order to have a matching. So you have to test the type and the value. So for example, a number and a boolean. if you compare one with true, it gives you false because their type is different. 0 with 0 because their type is different. A number and a number, their type and value are equal. Okay, so this would be interesting. So let's see. You have A and B. So you only return true when both their type and their value are true, I guess. Okay, so let's say let's start simple. If type A equals type B and A equals B, if both the type and the value are true, or exactly the same, return true, else return false. Let's see. Okay, what's the one-liner for this? Maestro, can you actually use triple equals in Python? It's a good question. I've only seen that in JavaScript. So let me actually check your solution. So far, like I said, I haven't seen triple equals in Python. Maybe in the upcoming implementations or versions, maybe in Python 4. Let's see. Yeah, so from what I know, that actually doesn't work. Let's go back to any other suggestions. Yeah, I don't think we can either, Neolex. Okay, so we are 30 minutes in. Let's just leave these challenges, these add a bit Python challenges, and I really encourage you guys, so for those of you who are new, I really encourage you, who are new to Python or to any programming language, I encourage you to actually work on add a bit because they have hundreds of practical, challenges. Most of them are practical. Let's actually view another solution for this one. Return A is B. That's so beautiful, right? One-liner. Have to upvote this. So like I said, Adabit is a great platform, and it's a free platform where you can actually practice algorithms. And they have quite a few languages. I'm actually going to go into C++, more into C++. So if we look at Python, we can have from very easy to expert, and in future live streams we're actually gonna move through them. So right now I'm at the very easy ones, and then as we work our way through them, we're actually gonna get to like more difficult ones. So you can also have, as you can see, you have tags here to actually choose from, and you have Python challenges that are tagged for algebra, algorithms, bit operations, which are really interesting, bug fixes, classes. I'm really excited about classes because I haven't practiced or I haven't written too many classes in Python since I've learned Python, and that's because I didn't actually have to. Most of the stuff that I've been working with in Python has had to do with actually importing and working with modules and not writing stuff on my own. So it'll be interesting to get into classes, maybe cryptography, functional programming, games, not for me at this moment, math, regex, they are ugly but very useful, and maybe strings. Alright, so attack defense labs. 32 minutes in. Marshall. Isn't there a return type for each value, whether bool or number? I'm not really sure what you're asking here. So attack defense labs. Since I've practiced here, like since my last live stream, they've actually added quite a few more challenges, more labs. Right now they're like almost 1600, which is crazy. It's really crazy. And like I said, what I like about this platform is that they keep expanding it, and that's great. I mean, I really hope that they're gonna do the same job that as they've done so far in actually having this very user friendly. It's not super like developed right now, but as simple as it is, or as simplistic as it is, it has like very basic functionality, and it's like extremely user friendly, at least through my subjective perspective. I want us to work on infrastructure attacks, and we're gonna go into Nginx right now. And in future live streams, I want to get into web app CVEs, because these are actually super practical. And a lot of you guys know that I don't like CTF-ish like stuff. I don't know why, but I just don't like. I mean, the primary reason that I don't like CTFs is because I find them very unrealistic, and of course, I keep that as my personal current perspective. So nobody has to convince me otherwise. I just find CTFs very unrealistic. Now, in this case, with these web app CVEs, these are actual vulnerabilities that have been discovered in the past, and they have a CVE number, and like this is real stuff. It's similar to like bug bounties, which are the most realistic stuff that you can practice on. Like that's live hacking on real targets with their permission. So we're going to do some CVEs in future live streams, and right now let's go into infrastructure attacks and Nginx and do some actual some really simple stuff, and maybe in future live streams we'll get into more complicated stuff depending on what you fellas want. And we're going to use Parrot here because some of the stuff that we're gonna do cannot be done from Windows. So Nginx infrastructure attacks. Let's start with the first one. Hello vlog de IT. Vlog de IT. So Marcel, some programming languages allow you to check directly. I thought that there is a function in Python. Well, I'm not really sure if there is, but yeah, you might want to investigate that. Hello Gopal. Okay, vulnerable Nginx. In this series of challenges, we hope to explore how attackers can exploit web apps running on Nginx, arising due to server misconfiguration and or application vulnerabilities. Take a look at the scenario below. Okay, so the directory listing is enabled for a specific directory on a web server due to a misconfiguration. In simple words, anyone can see, so let me just run this. Anyone can see the list of files / directories present in that directory by navigating to its location. Our mission is to find the credentials for the web app, log into it, and retrieve the flag. Okay, so we have a server misconfiguration. Let's wait for this to start and then fire it up. Okay, so let's jump into it. Again, we have to find the credentials, and we have directory listing is enabled due to a misconfiguration for a specific directory. So we're looking for a directory which has directory listing enabled. That means that if we know that path, we can look into it. So what I usually, in this type of scenario, what I would start with is to actually look into the source of the page, and we can see some of the style sheet path as well as the JavaScript. We could look into the JS files, but I think this is not what we're looking after or for. When I do bug bounties or when I work on a bounty, I spend quite a lot of time on JavaScript, actually looking into and finding JavaScript files, because it reveals the functionality. And in most cases, when we talk about custom-made stuff, custom applications, there are a lot of goodies in JS files. So what is the pattern here? We can see static as being a potential folder that we could look into. So let's see if we have robots.txt. There's no robots.txt. And then there's the static. Okay, so static is forbidden. And I assume that if we know, there's also vendor and JavaScript inside static. So we have vendor, this is also forbidden, and JavaScript, this is also forbidden. I guess that, or I assume that there might be other folders inside the static, and one of them is the one that we're looking after, and that specific folder should have directory listing enabled. So in this case, what would you guys think that is the next step? I'm waiting. Static uploads. Hello, George or Georgia. Enumerate directories. Directory bust brute force. Good answers. So static uploads. Let's see. Static uploads. Not found. Enumerate directories. Directory bust brute force. Google. Okay, so vlog the IT and Google, you are onto something. That's what I also think about. So you would actually wanna enumerate or brute force for directories in this case. That's why I have Parrot OS fired up and running. So we should probably use, let's see if I have the common.txt over here. And there it is. So let's do a derb. I usually don't use derb. There's also GoBuster, dirbuster, which is the graphical interface, and dirsearch, which is my favorite one for bug bounties. But let's for this case use derb, and then you have to specify the path. In this case we're looking into static, and then paste it over here. So derb the path, I don't think you have to specify other parameter, and then the word list. So let's use the common.txt, Control Shift C, Control Shift V, and I don't think that there is any other parameter that I should specify, but let's see. Okay, so it's testing. Let me know, guys, if you can see this. Like, is this big enough? Am I connected to the internet? That's the question here. So let me do an ifconfig. Let me ping google.com. It works. So I think that should work. Let's also use dirsearch. Dirsearch with the URL static, and then the extensions. We're not looking for extensions. We're not interested in extensions, but we're interested in folders. So I'm doing this dirsearch. Let me not do it like this, because this is a bash file that I've written to simplify my work. So I'm actually going to use dirsearch.py and then specify the URL, and then we'll also have to specify the word list. So we're going to use the same word list that we've used here. This one, Control Shift C, Control Shift V, and then -F, I guess, or not. I don't think I have. -F is for actually forcing extensions. Let's actually specify 200 threads and then try to run it as it is. No extension specified. Let's do txt then, and then F, permission denied. So I have to run it with sudo because I'm user in this case. Dirsearch command not found. Do I not have it installed? Okay, let me just specify the full path then. I think we might be having something on dirbuster here. So it has found a conf folder, which is the same thing that has been found by dirsearch. Okay. So we should probably stop this, exit. GoBuster would find the same thing, minus u. So I'm actually showing you guys how to find this in multiple ways. GoBuster minus u minus w for the, so the syntax is very similar. What else do we need to specify? Is there anything else we need? Unknown shorthand. Yeah, so in the newer implementations of GoBuster, you have to specify the type of functionality you want to use in GoBuster, because GoBuster, if I do GoBuster minus minus help, it will tell me that we have dir, DNS, help, and vhost. And in this case, we're going for directories, dir, and then specify the URL, and then probably run this with sudo. And you can also specify the timeout, the user agent, the number of threads, and so on and so forth. But this is actually running really fast, so we don't have to use more than the 10 threads, the 10 default threads. So it also found the conf. Okay, that's probably it. Why Parrot and not Kali? Because I just want to test. I've been using Kali for like 2 or more years, and I've been using Parrot for the last couple of months, and I find it really nice in terms of user interface and functionality, and I seem to like it better. I just got bored with Kali. I mean, look at this interface. Isn't this like really nice? Yeah, so that's why. It's just a simple preference. You can use barebone Ubuntu with the tools that you want to have installed. Actually, I'm probably going to show you in a future live stream how to set up a cloud computer with how to actually fire up or spin a cloud virtual private server and have the bare minimum of tools that you would be using in penetration testing or bug bounty hunting installed, and all the process should take maybe less than 10 minutes. That would be efficiency. So you would have a laboratory on demand for bug bounties in probably less than 10 minutes, preferably. Okay, also you have a local parrot and are connected via SSH to the machine vulnerable or running an online virtual lab. So Marcel, what I've been using, so Parrot, in this case, my instance of Parrot, this is a virtual box, virtual machine that's running locally. So this is running locally. And then I'm actually connecting to the attack defense lab that I started here. So this is a lab that I started and I'm actually connecting to it on attack defense. Hope that answers your question, and I really hope that's super clear. Okay, so let's see. Let's just not waste time. How are we on time? 50 minutes, man, 50 minutes, time flies. So static conf credentials.conf. Let's save that. Actually look into it. Credentials.conf. Open with. Let's open with Notepad. PA Labs, Attack Defense Labs. Let's copy this. And then go back to the login page. So it's at PA Labs. Control V. And we got the flag in a very CTF-ish like style. So I mean, I wouldn't say this is like too CTF-ish because it often happens that some um, web administrators or system administrators actually set inappropriate access controls for different directories, and that often happens. I mean, I've seen AVS S3 buckets with inappropriate in my bug bounties with inappropriate access controls listing all the files uh, that have been on in that bucket. So that's like a very big flaw. Okay, so I probably have to put this flag somewhere in here and verify it. And there you go. Okay, let's stop this one. I don't think so, Marcel. I mean, I'm not actually. I use to do scripting. I use Nano in Parrot OS. So, and I also use Visual Studio Code, like I have it here, which is super lightweight and it's like really resource efficient, as I found. Okay, let's go back to vulnerable Nginx 2. I believe we did this in a previous video, and then vulnerable Nginx 3. So like I said, we are 53 minutes in, and if you guys don't have any questions, I mean, I'm here. Ask me about penetration testing, Python, bug bounties, whatever, because otherwise I'm actually gonna try and do another one, this one, and then I'm actually gonna call it a day. So what do we have here? I mean, this is the same description as for the previous one. The homepage is protected with basic authentication. In order to view the content, so let me start this. In order to view the content of the page, the user has to provide the right credentials. However, there exists a vulnerability in the web server which can be leveraged to see the page content without providing the correct credentials. We have to find the vulnerability, access the page content, and retrieve the flag. So, without actually saying anything and without actually starting this thing, what do you guys know as a vulnerability in basic authentication that allows you to bypass it? And there should be something that should pop up into your head like super immediately. Think about it. I'll give you a few seconds. So the lab is started, and there you go. We have the authentication popping up. What's one very popular? So what is one very popular vulnerability in basic authentication that allows you to bypass it? Did you get it, Neolex? Okay, so I'm gonna repeat that one more time. What is one very popular vulnerability in basic authentication that allows you to bypass it? 15 seconds. Default credentials, no. No default credentials. Okay, so time's up. If we go to a terminal over here, clear this and make ourselves root clear. If we curl this thing. Okay, so is there a bell that's ringing in your head right now? We have authorization required. What could I do here? What type of request is this? No. User level default credentials, no. XSS, no. Password hashing, no. So the simple question, what type of request is this? Curl and the address. Yes, that's a GET request. Okay, so what could we do if we know that? What could we do? What sort of request could we do to bypass this? And that's actually a very popular vulnerability in server misconfiguration. Insecure instead of HTTPS? No. So we have a GET request. 15 seconds. I mean, you can Google it. Okay, so we have two winners here, Satya and Neolex. Yes, make a post request. So in this case, we would simply say curl minus x, and x specifies the type of request. Let's do curl minus minus help. And let's see. In this case, we have the minus x parameter, and it says specify request command to use. Maybe a better way would be specify request method. So in this case is curl x post. I'm not really sure if I have to put it into parentheses, into quotes. And then we have the host, enter, and there you have it. So this is something that has been encountered quite a lot in the wild. So there's our flag. Okay, let's go back. Verify flags, verify, verify. There you go. Stop the lab. Let's go back. And there's more here, but we'll probably stop here and then do more in future live streams. And then let's see if you guys have some questions. Yeah, it is. It actually is. It is a common vulnerability. I don't think the head request would have worked. Yeah, so that those are other types of requests. Okay, so there was one or two questions over here, so we're at one hour mark. In Windows, just for trivial stuff, not under Ubuntu or Parrot OS. Yeah, I mean, I use Visual Studio Code in Windows, but you could also, I mean, whatever type of text editor. The idea is to know what you're doing, not necessarily the tool that you're using. Which are the beginner books you recommend? What type of beginner? For Python penetration testing. Okay. Beginner books for Python penetration testing. I actually have a video on my I actually have multiple videos on my YouTube channel in which I talk about beginner penetration testing books and beginner Python penetration testing books. Yeah, so to answer your question, let's look into videos over here. And I'm actually going to direct you to the video so that I wouldn't be repeating myself. Should be somewhere over here. Okay, so top 3 books to learn Python penetration testing. This is one of the videos. This is very specific. And then there's this one, how to get into cybersecurity. This is, I would also recommend you to look into this one. You also have top 3 beginner courses. And also this one, how to learn coding for penetration testing, in which I talk about Python. And yeah, so yeah, those are 3 of the videos that I would recommend for Python penetration testing books. But to be more specific, I think I don't recall the titles from the top of my head. How did you learn for your OSCP? Well, the answer is super simple. When you enroll for the OSCP, you are being given everything that you need from the offensive security company or whatever they're called. You are being given all the materials you need to pass the exam. So if you go through the materials, if you go through the book and the course, because a lot of people rush into the labs, a lot of people rush into the OSCP labs without actually going through the materials. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. Like, for example, and then they fail. So I purchased 60 days of labs. And as I've read other people's testimonials of the OSCP, a lot of them suggested that I should definitely focus on going through the materials like step by step and not rushing into the labs. So I got the 60 days of labs, I purchased the 60 days of labs, and when the lab started, that's when I got the materials. And instead of rushing into the labs, I went through the materials. And I spent, as I can recall, I spent the first 30 days of labs not doing any lab at all. So I only worked on the materials, and I won't be more specific than that because I don't want to disclose anything from the OSCP. So I've only worked through the materials the first 30 days of the labs, and then once I finished with the materials, then I went into the labs, and then I actually did the remaining 30 days or so in the labs, and I wasn't actually able to go through all of them, through all of the labs, just to maybe I would say 40 to 60% of the labs there. But anyway, so yeah, that's how I learned, or how I went through the OSCP. I made sure not to ignore the materials that have been given. And of course, if you're really good in penetration testing, you might be able to get away with it by actually rushing into the labs, but I know that a lot of people and a lot of seasoned cybersecurity professionals have failed their tests because they have ignored the materials. So the basic theme here is don't ignore the materials. Okay. So Satya asks, would it be better to directly dive into the attack defense lab problems and learn along the way, or start with some courses and then start with these problems? Show of force. Salute Bafta. Salute show of force. So Satya, it depends. So the answer to your question is context dependent. You know how you learn better. You're the only person that knows how you efficiently learn as a person. If you're the more practical type and you don't have the attention, and you have the attention span of a fly, then it might not be good for you to actually go through a course or even a book, which would be more boring to you, when you actually want to learn something. So if you would be the practical type, if you learn by doing, by hands-on, then by all means go to Attack Defense Labs or other platforms, uh, yeah, and start doing. And as you get into the problems or the challenges or the real world scenarios, you'll actually learn as you go through them, because you'll encounter a problem, an issue, or something, and you learn about it on the go. Like, for example, I don't know a lot about Nginx servers, like in this case, vulnerable Nginx. If I'm going into this problem in the Attack Defense Labs, I'm actually um, I'm actually researching on demand about Nginx. I'm looking for vulnerabilities with respect to Nginx, and then I'm trying to apply my knowledge directly onto the problem, and I'm super specific. But and for a lot of people, I would recommend to actually take a formal approach by actually doing a course or a book, so that you can have a very broad idea of the topic at hand. Like, for example, if you want to learn Python, take a Python course. There are a lot of free Python courses online. My Python course isn't free, but I can give you like very big discounts if you want to take it. But there are a lot of free courses on YouTube. I have a lot of free videos on YouTube with respect to Python. So if you want to learn Python, take a course or a book or whatever, or go to edabit.com, which is free, or to sololearn.com, and actually learn there, so that you know the basic structure and syntax and all the methods and functions and how you actually write them. And then once you have that basic knowledge, you would actually go and apply it onto different exercises or problems or challenges or projects or even work that you have. Hope that answers your question. Mohammed Faisal, any low budget certifications? Well, I would say the OSCP is quite low budget. I mean, like $1,000. That's how much I paid for it like last year. There's also the ones from Security, which a lot of people praise and say that they're super practical and they're more dated. So they're not outdated, but they're very actual and updated. A lot of people say that they are more updated than the OSCP, which to a lot of people seems like outdated. So the certifications from Security, I think they are in the $1,000 to $2,000 budget, I guess. And when I decide to actually do another certification, because right now I'm more into bug bounties, and that's how I feel I learn best right now. And that's why I don't spend time on Hack the Box, on VulnHub and other platforms, because instead of actually doing like fictional scenarios, I'm doing live hacking on bounties on companies with their permission, and I'm actually having a real impact. And of course, I learn a lot of real stuff at the same time. And to answer Mohammed's question, you don't actually have to get a certification. You can just go into a bug bounty and start hacking, but just make sure that you're following their policy and you're hacking within their scope. Okay, my opinion on CEH. I don't know a lot about CEH or CompTIA Pentest Plus, and I think Marcel, I think I've talked to in one of my videos with Hackersploit. We've discussed CEH versus the OSCP, and I made a lot of assumptions in that video. So you could actually go ahead and check it out. Should be somewhere over where? Over here, CISSP versus CEH. Cybersecurity degrees, CTFs versus real life. Go ahead and watch that video. Alright, any other questions, fellas? So we're 1 hour and 11 minutes. I'm just gonna wait for like 2 or 3 minutes more, because if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm just gonna prepare to these social events that I have to attend tonight. Because I mean, what day is today? It's a Saturday. So, what are your thoughts on CCNA cyber ops? Ricardo. Hello, Ricardo. Thank you for your question. I do not know anything about that. So, yeah, the only certification that I went through is the OSCP, and I know very little of other certifications. I know that a lot of people suggest, in terms of practicality, because the OSCP, as a lot of people say, and as I say as well, is really practical, is really hands-on. There's not a lot of theory from what I know. CEH and other certifications, which may be more tailored to different sorts of people, not necessarily super technical. They may be more theoretical. I'm just making assumptions here. So, yeah, the the thing that I want to say, or that I want to highlight, is that if you want to be a cybersecurity technical person, a penetration tester, a cybersecurity analyst, you might want to go for something that's super practical. If you think you need a certification, if you don't think you, and I would suggest to get a certification, because it kind of puts you in that learner mindset. And if the certification is good, you'll actually learn a lot, and you'll not only get the certificate, the physical certificate itself, but you'll also be more like foundable, if that is a real word, by HR people. So if you want to get hired, you could go to LinkedIn, for example, and list your certification there under your profile. And when HR people actually look for cybersecurity professionals, you're gonna appear in their searches. And I'm saying this because I get like quite a lot of requests weekly by HR people from different parts of the world, with offers for positions and stuff like that, with relocation. Some of them are remote. So that's one of the reasons why someone might want to get a certificate or a certification. But if you don't think you need one, and if you have the skill, you don't actually have to prove your skill through a certification. If you have the skill, someone will actually hire you if you show them what you can do, or if you show your stuff on GitHub, on your GitHub profile, on Medium, on YouTube, whatever. Okay. So, the last question that I'm going to answer. Hey, what should I proceed with in order to master bug bounty? And what must I learn in order to get my first bounty? So, to be honest, I'm not the most entitled person to answer this question, because I've only been doing bug bounties for like close to 6 months, and I actually so far did not get any bounty rewards, like cash. I found bugs, I found quite a few bugs, but none of them have been rewardable so far. So, what I've learned. It depends. I mean, bug bounty hunting is a very large thing. Do you want to do mobile? Do you want to do web app? Do you want to do reverse engineering? Answer this question first. If you want to do web app penetration, web app bug bounty hunting, you should know how a web application works. Take the Web App Hacker's Handbook or the Real World Bug Hunting by Peter Jaworski book, and actually go through it. Then learn how to do recon, and then learn how to use tools such as burp. You have to master burp, and not necessarily, maybe you want to focus more on recon, then you could actually completely avoid using burp. So you would be doing mostly passive or active recon. Then do it every day. pick a target, look at their scope, make sure you comply with their policy, and then start like hacking on their own under their policy, and then do it every day. Don't jump from target to target after maybe 1 hour of actively working on a target. Spend maybe 1 or 2 weeks on a target until you move to the next one, because if you jump from target to target, you'll kind of feel drained. You can get into burnout, and you can actually feel that you're not learning anything. So what I feel, and then of course, if you're into web app penetration testing and bug bounty hunting, make sure you know the most common vulnerabilities and how to exploit them. Look into the OWASP stuff, of course. And what I would actually take the OWASP, take the 2017 top 10 OWASP and look into it. Like, really study that guide very in depth, and spend sufficient time on a target before you move to the next one. In my case, for example, I feel that I learned a lot. I'm more into mobile bug bounty hunting right now. So I feel that I've learned a lot about a target when I actually spend maybe 10 days looking into the same specific stuff. And to be honest, I feel that I've learned that in one of my latest bug bounties. I've learned a lot about GraphQL. So I didn't actually know anything about GraphQL up until I had to face it in the bug bounty that I was doing. What you must learn in order to get your first bug bounty. I think I've answered that question. Will you have a session focused on web apps? What do you mean session focused on web apps? You mean web application hacking? I mean, that's what we've done here. What would you like to see, Marcel? Because I'm not sure I've got your question. Yes, Ricardo, so you work remotely. Most of the stuff that I do is remote work indeed. We are 1 hour and 20 minutes in. And if you guys don't have any questions in the next 30 seconds, I'm actually gonna go and call it a day. Just web apps, no Python. Marcel, I guess we can do that, but I really want more people to learn Python or some sort of programming language, because it's probably the easiest to learn, and there's a very big demand in people not necessarily software developers, but in people who know how to program a computer. Longer sessions. I mean, this is 1 hour and 20 minutes. It's the longest that I have so far. We could do longer sessions. Right now there have been 15 or 16 of you that have been watching, and then there's probably gonna be more as I finish this session and I leave the live on my channel. But anyway, fellas, I guess so I haven't been doing live sessions in the past couple of weeks because I've been working on a lot of stuff, but I will be doing more lives. So yeah, I guess I will be seeing you in future live sessions. Thanks for being here.